Hello everyone. Well, sorry, very so like we had some like technical problem with YouTube and we just yeah got online. So thank you so much for joining us today. And well, like we are like about 15 minutes late, and I'm sort of like doing the best to like make that for you guys. So we are talking about flavored noodles today, and like we all want to be unique, right, to our customers. We want to be different. It's like compete like 'cause we have like a lot of competitors, right, offering kind of same thing. And but like we want to offer something different, right? We want to offer something different, and we want to have something that our customers will remember us by. So probably flavor noodle is like probably simplest and easiest way for us to like make ourselves different. So that's why we're talking about today. Flavored noodles. And so my name is Akira, and this is making me my colleague, and we are making some awesome flavored noodles today for you guys. So by watching this class, you'll be able to make great flavored noodles from scratch. Okay, so please stay tuned. And so I'm going to start with this lecture, just a little lecture that I prepared. And maybe he's going to make some awesome flavored noodles today later on the noodle machine. So let's get started. All right, so we're talking about flavored noodles, and like I'm going to talk about like three things basically. And so what's important in making great flavored noodles, right? And then secondly, we're going to talk about like actually when we're making flavored noodles, like what are the tips, right? What pitfalls, not to do. Um, Things like that, and so that you'll be like not gonna fall into this problem like trouble when you're making your own flavored noodles. And lastly, we're gonna talk about best three flavored noodles picked by subjectively by our noodle making experts here at Yamato. And so we're gonna reveal all these three top three best three flavored noodles. Okay, and before we go into actual making of flavored noodles, so what's really important, right, in making like flavored noodles, like good ones. So what we care about basically, right, when like for trying flavored noodles is that of course like the color, right? Color, we care about the color, right? It has to be bright, sharp, and then basically appeal to customers, your customers, right? And we don't want like some colors that like that are not like that don't exist in like naturally like in the food. It's like for example like bright blue or like a bright green color, like it's kind of weird, right? So like well, we want some like color that like kind of appealing and like kind of like makes you want to try it, right? So then it like has to be it should be bright and sharp, right? And the flavor, of course, like flavor or like slash taste, and but basically like we're talking about well smell, aroma of the flavor, and it has to be pleasant, of course, right? It should be like complementing other ingredients that we put in the noodles, and so it has to like complement wheat flavor, and it has like because when you think about the whole dish, right, whole noodle dish, it has to complement like soup, sauce, flavor as well. You shouldn't go against that. Like, you have like this kind of flavor. It's a good flavor, but like if you, like put in noodles and like eat it with this type of soup, then, it just kills it, right? So you don't want that. So like we have to think about, like when we are making these flavor noodles, we have to think about like what kind of soup or sauce that we are pairing them with, right? So we have to go that far to think about what kind of flavor noodles we're making. And of course, like texture, right? Texture with flavored noodles are important. Like, as we've been talking about in the previous classes, that like pretty much noodle texture determines the quality of the noodles, right? So texture, and there are many different types like flavoring ingredients that we can use, and some of the ingredients have like kind of well large particles, like and then like if you're like making like just putting in them there like to make dough and like making noodles, something like too large for us to be like to turn it into like certain size of noodles, and like so they break, right? And then you should also like think about like mix ratio as well, like which has to do with like moisture content of the flavor ingredients as well. So which I'm gonna talk more about later, but so certain types of flavoring ingredients, like for example, like sesame, sesame like contains some oil in it, right? And then so like this oil enhances like smoothness, right? Noodle texture. So that's kind of important. Like so, like sesame, like like containing some certain oil, or like some other ingredients that kind of enhances the noodle texture. Then you should go for it. And of course, like talking about noodle texture, we've talked about like in the previous class we've talked about noodle size, the shape, and of course like hydration. The higher the hydration, like softer, like lower, harder the noodle, right? And then other ingredients that are not flavor ingredients, but like like for example wheat flour, other types of like grain flours. These all like affect the noodle texture of flavored noodles. So we should think about like all these points when making flavored noodles. And so let's go into the production side of things, right? And so the tips that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to talk like three things. So first one, like hydration. So hydration, like we just talking about, right? And then when talking about hydration of noodles, we have to consider the total hydration ratio of the noodles. For example, like we should be using certain type of like wheat flour, and the moisture level of the wheat flour is usually like 14 to 15%, and then it kind of remains the same. Like and it has like starch and protein, but so the wheat flour, right? But like if you're using certain flavor ingredients, for example, like chili powder, right, which is actually a lot drier. It's like it's probably way less moisture than 14%. So if you're adding certain amount of like chili powder to the flour, right, and then so that's gonna decrease. That's gonna reduce the total hydration ratio. So if you're making like aiming at like for example like 30% hydration ratio, right? But like if you're adding like certain amount of like chili powder, and then it comes out like maybe 27, 26% hydration ratio, like drier and then harder, right? So but if you're making, if you're aiming at like kind of same kind of hydration ratio, like softness, then you should think about like increasing hydration ratio by like maybe a few percentage points to compensate for the dryness in the chili powder. So that's one thing I want to say about the hydration. And so we should kind of limit the quantity of like flavoring ingredients. Well, especially when you're talking about like dry one, solid um, flavor ingredients. Like so, this graph kind of shows like kind of roughly shows that like it's solid ingredients, for example, like wheat, flour, etc. Right, and then you have like liquid, like water and other things, like other ingredients, right? And then so it's about like 26%, 27%, and then so just flavoring ingredients is just this much, like it's just really small percentage, but it gives like really good flavor, color. But like you have to limit. So like flavoring ingredients, like think of them as like supporting ingredients. Like they are not main ingredients. So the things that like that well when we add like flavoring ingredients, right? So you find like these like great flavoring ingredients, like for example like purple sweet potato like powder like in the market, and like it's a pinkish like purple color, like it's like bright, like it's great, like if you can you know turn your noodles into this color, and then like everybody would love it, so you'd use it, right? But like it may change like when you are making, for example, like ramen noodles, which use a kansui, right? Kansui, like, which is like alkaline, and it reacts with the certain things that like had like this purple sweet potato has like in it, like then and then like it changes the color like to kind of horrible. It's not horrible, but like kind of bright greenish color, like totally different from like what you had in mind, right? So that's you have to be careful. Like it's like when you're making, it's like there's a chemical reaction, like it changes the color. So be careful. And when you're cooking noodles, like so all the noodles have to go through this cooking process, like boiling process. And when you cook ramen noodles, for example, and like most of the constantly, like 85%, 90% constantly dissolved in the cooking water. And the same thing happens to like flavoring ingredients you put in the noodles. So noodles lose, much of color and flavor in boiling process. So how much they lose, kind of depends on what kind of flavor ingredients you're using. Then like your production process. But yeah, like basically you have to like try and error to find out. Okay, and once you make them into noodles or like in dough, when you rest it, when you rest noodles like dough, they may change the color a little bit, like from the oxidation. So you should be careful about that as well. Like so, basically you have to like once you find like good flavoring ingredients in your local market, then you just have like try it, see like how it changes, why it just remains the same or and then, so how we add, right? How we add like these flavoring ingredients into dough is that like, so there are basically three ways we can do. And so like, we just add like solid ingredients, like in a powder form, like typically like they're in a powder, like they come in powder form. And so you just add it to the solid ingredients, right? Like basically, pretty easy, like just add it to the flour. But another way is like liquid. So you have, so like, you have like, for example, like, spinach, fresh spinach, and then just, put in the blender, like make a juice, and then put in water to add it to the flour to make dough out of it. And the third one is like direct kneading of like raw ingredients. So once we did like some crazy like so we use this noodle machine and we make dough, right? And in the sheeting process, so we took these fresh shiso leaves, right? And then you just like kneaded them in, like kneaded like all these like fresh leaves, like unprocessed, into the like dough sheet, right? Like applying like really heavy pressure, so like like just through the rollers, right? So that's something you may be able to do. So like three ways we have, right? But like which is the best way to do it? They depends, right? Depends on the what's available in your market, and it's like if you have like for example like squid ink, right, in powder form, then that's great. Like you can just put in the or solid, and it tends to be because this method like tends to be like stable in terms of quality, and it tends to has like higher retention rate of like flavor and color. So maybe the best, but if even if it's not available, right? It's like you only have like certain ingredients in fresh form, right? Then you should go with liquid, or if you have like something really interesting locally, then you might want to try this direct kneading way. Okay, and but like once we did like so tea leaves, like some customer like asked us to make these like special tea leaves noodles, right? And then so they had this like tea leaves in powder form and like fresh ones. So we both did both versions, and we made tea leaves noodles that's from a solid powder, and we made like tea leaves noodles with that liquid. Like so, we just brew the tea right out of these leaves, and use that to hydrate the flour and to make dough, right? And so the result was like actually we liked the liquid version better. So I guess like, it depends on the ingredients you guys use. Okay, so it really depends on the type of ingredient to use, and then availability of ingredients that you in your market. Right. So lastly, like I want to just kind of touch on this. There's three flavored noodles for the beginners. Picked by our noodle making experts. And so these are the criteria, like, so, so like that these noodles like have to be like easy to make. Because some like flavoring ingredients like in just make it so hard to like, make, like it has to go through like different processes. So it has to be easy to make, right? So then appealing looks. It has the appealing looks, and like so, once your customer like saw it, like go, wow, it's like, well, what's in it? Like, what did you put in it, right? So, so then that you win, right? And then so that's like your customer like have to like want to try it. So then it has to be, it has these appealing looks. So that's the second criteria, and it has to be flexible, right? So you may have like different soups, right? Heavy soup, like light broth, and then so these noodles have to be flexible in pairing with different types like soups and sauce. So these are criteria, and then so then this like the third place. So we have like seaweed noodles, and we actually made it in the powder form. Like we had this like seaweed powder, so it was easy to make. But like if you don't have them in powder form, like in your place, then maybe a bit difficult to make. You have to like put in blender to make it juice, and then so maybe. But like it's got a beautiful color, green color, and which reflects some healthy image, and yeah, and then this kind of goes well with like few different types like soups. So we put in a third place, and the black pepper. It's kind of surprising. So like this is not like ground black pepper, but like we use like whole black pepper, and I think we just kind of like roughly ground them, and then put it in the mixer and use it like, and then well, that looks right. Like that looks are not as appealing as like some other noodles, like but the taste, right? Like flavor, like very spicy, and black pepper is available like anywhere in the world, right? So that's great. That's a point there. And then it's relatively easy to make, but because we are using like whole gram pepper, like may not be suited for thin noodles. If you make like thin noodles with it, like then the noodle may break, right? So it's not. It should be for thick noodles, and they're flexible in coupling with like different types of sauces, soups. So that's why you got like second place. And chili noodles. Yeah, chili noodles like these are really great because like it's got like really appealing looks, like it's like orange rather than red, and they're really flexible in pairing like with different types of soups and sauce, and they're they're not as spicy as you imagine, but like they are very spicy, and they could be pretty addictive. So that's a number one chili noodles. I mean the flavored noodles. We picked for the flavored noodles beginners. So there we have it, and so let's get started on noodle production part. And before we dive into that, I want you guys to see these ingredients, different types like flavoring ingredients that we have, and so this is the purple sweet potatoes that in the powder form like we are talking about, right? It's like it's beautiful, and it's like greenish one, like this is a chlorella powder, and this is squid ink in powder form. So I think there are many types of like these like flavor ingredients like that are available in Japan, but like in your country I'm not sure, but you could use them like in fresh form. So um, you know then so these are the difference that I was talking about. So like so we use the purple sweet potato powder, right? And they're like, without kansi, but like this is with kansi. So the difference, right? Obvious difference, like very clear difference. So yeah, like reacting with the kansi, like alkaline, then just trying to this reach like totally different color. They not sure about the flavor and taste, but yeah, and then you can change the shapes, the thickness, the size, and they taste totally different. So this is just the fraction of example that we could show you guys today. But the point is, you want to try like different ingredients that are available in your country as flavoring ingredients. So so these are the ingredients that we're gonna use for today's demonstration, and this is a wheat flour. This is a wheat flour like for ramen noodles, and protein content is like about like 11.5%. And you see this. This is just water, and that like you got like salt and kansi and yes, chili powder. Like this is pure 100% chili powder. Okay, so it's very dry, and so that's why like you need to adjust the hydration ratio to make up for the dryness. So so what you're looking at is a noodle making machine that we have for yes, actually EU countries, where all the goods imported to are required to have like CE mark. And so this is a mixer that you can mix up to like 10 kilograms of ingredients at a time. And on top of it, like you're adding liquid. So the salt and kansi, also you need to dissolve into the water first before you add it to the flour. And yeah, in the last class we talked about kansi, right? And then for those of you like who missed it, please let us know. We are more than happy to send a link to you. And so we have to make sure that like they are all dissolved in the water before adding to the flour, right? And so that's just as like solid ingredients, being mixed for a minute, and then after that we are going to mix it for 4 minutes with maybe like 2/3 of the liquid first, right? And yeah, she's like directly pouring this liquid onto the mixer lid. See, like which has like these small holes, right? And then like that allows this liquid to to drip through these holes, and then to be added to the flour gradually, like little by little. And then yeah, so these holes like allow for good hydration of dough. And yeah, we could keep watching it like for 10 minutes, which is a total mixing time, but Megumi was clever enough to prepare this dough in advance. And so look at this color, right? Look at this color, right? And then, yeah, I wish you guys were here to, smell it. Yeah, I'm standing like, yeah, like almost like 2 meters away from it, and then you can still smell, the chili. Um, yeah, it's pretty intense. And then notice that color, right? Notice the color. So it's like more like orange, right? Orange, like rather than yeah, red. And yeah, so yeah, orange. And now it's orange, and then like it's kind of like still rough, right? And it like kind of crumbles of dough, and and then like what we are doing right now is that like we are actually yeah, making a sheet of dough, making a sheet of dough out of this like crumbles dough, right? And so that's the first process that like we do like in this machine, and we call it rough foaming, right? So you're just like forcing, feeding this dough, crumbles dough, like into the set of rollers, and to make like sheet of dough, and that's still rough, like that's still like fragile, and so we still have like kind of apply some pressure on this dough sheet to you know well develop like we talked about before about like gluten structure inside the dough, and so that's coming next, and so like yeah, so like she keeps feeding the dough into the roller, and um, yeah, and then I I forgot to mention that like this is hydration of 38%, 38%. So we we probably usually do 34, 33%, but because of the amount of the chili powder like we added, right, which was I think like 5% to the total solid. Um, so depending on the amount of like the flavoring ingredients you add, and especially when it's when the flavoring ingredients is like dry, like this chili powder, and then as I said, you might want to increase the hydration ratio by a few percentage points to make up for the dryness of the flavoring ingredients, or if you're using other types of like flavored ingredients like that are actually wetter than the wheat flour. Wheat flour we talk about like moisture content level is like 14%, 15%. If you use like flavoring ingredients that's more moist than that, then yeah, you may want to actually reduce the amount of water you add, decrease the hydration ratio to you know have that kind of same kind of softness that the dough. So after 4 minutes of mixing, right, like see that like still floury, and yeah, still like that, right? Like still not fully mixed, and gonna mix it for like another 6 minutes, and add the rest of the water, remaining water, liquid, and so mix it for 6 more minutes. So after the what we call a rough forming of dough sheet, like, man, as you can see that this sheet of dough is like still rough, like fragile, right? And so you want to make it stronger, more firm by what she's doing is like separating it into two sheets, and combine them like through rollers. So it's like applying really good pressure to the dough. And so this is a process of developing the gluten structure and making the dough firm. So she's winding the dough sheet onto the rolling pin, and this rolling pin, we'll put against moving roller, and then it just like winds by itself, like automatically. So after you put it in rolling pin, then you can, yeah, you can just let it go, and the machine does it for you. So this is the first combining process, and we want to select roughly, well, no, like layer them, like kind of, and then double them, and then kind of sheet them out through the roller. Make sure the entire area of the dough sheet gets certain pressure, right? And then notice that it's, well, you may notice that, like like we are going pretty slow on purpose, and because we are going slow to, well, I'm talking about like rolling speed, and we're going slow like on purpose to like make sure that like the dough gets fair amount of pressure to develop gluten structure. So that's important. And so we basically do this combining process like twice, 1 to 2 times, depending on what kind of noodle you're making. On this one, like we're doing twice. And here we go. And so after combining process, um, we're not gonna combine them again from this point on. So from this point on, we want to, well, dust it. We want to dust the dough with dusting powder, which is basically starch, right? Starch, well, kind of starch that the particular one we use is the well, is a starch of like palm tree, certain type of palm tree. It's available in, this product is available in Japan, but like in overseas, we usually recommend using maybe like corn starch, like some types of starch that's available, and then like pretty much which helps um, the dough from sticking together. So anything that you know keeps dough from sticking, then that should be fine. But like it should be small enough in particle size. So after combining process, right? So all we have to do is to thin it. All we have to do is thin it to the final thickness so that we can start cutting it into noodles. So from this point on, we can go faster. You can go faster, and so and so that was like this first like thinning process, and we want to thin it, like we want to thin the dough like gradually, And we would have to, like, depending on the noodle size that you're aiming at, like final noodle size, we would need to do this process like a couple times, the thinning. And because like when we thin it like drastically, from, for example, like from like 3 millimeter to maybe 1 millimeter, then that would damage the gluten structure that's been developed. So that's bad for noodle texture. So you don't want to do that. So it takes time, but like well, anything that's good, takes time. So uh, you have to put up with it. And so yeah, the machine has this automatic duster that's in sync with this machine's operations. Like once you hit that roller button, and then like rollers like start moving, and then this automatic duster start moving as well. And then once you stop it, and then duster also stops. Okay, so Meg wants to measure the thickness of the dough, and yeah, so it's got that's gone through 1.5 millimeter like roller gap, but like it's actually 1.9 millimeter. So that means that like it's gone through like 1.5 millimeter roller gap, but like the actual thickness is actually bigger than the roller gap we set, and it means that like this noodle on those sheet, it bounced back. It bounced back because it's sort of gluten, right? Because of gluten, it uh, it bounced back like after it's going through like 1.5 millimeter roller gap by 0.4 millimeter. That's the difference. And this is the kind of cutter we use, and so we call it slider cutter, and so this we call like square number 20 cutter, and so each groove is 1.5 millimeter in width, and so yeah, it's like 1.5 millimeter in width. Like so we are getting one noodle that's 1.5 millimeter width, right? And then the thickness, right? We control by roller gap. So you gotta have this conveyor, right? And then set it up, and yeah, put that duster down there to make sure that we dust it. We have like dusting going now, like on the noodles that are coming out, and so I'm going to the cutting mode, right? And going to do cutting, and so noodles are going to come out. So the dough sheet is actually going through another thinning process, and then goes into the cutter, right? So it gets thinned again, and it's cut. And then yeah, so these are beautiful, beautiful noodles. And another thing that you can do is that with this machine is that like you can actually change the length of the noodles, right? By changing the length of noodles, you're actually changing the serving size, right? Serving size of the noodles, right? So if you have a customer, right? If the customer like eat a lot, then he'll be happy like if you serve him big portion, right? So you can make it pretty long for him, right? And then like if you're a customer like who don't eat much but like love your noodles, then you can make it shorter than normal size. So it's pretty easy, like just touch up volume and make it shorter, longer, and so it's very easy. And you can also make them curly. Um, machine, and you can make them curly by hand as well. And so yeah, making curly and straight, and it's very easy to do. This machine, pretty flexible, and so we've been only talking about noodles, but you can also make such thing as wonton skin, like gyoza skin, dumpling skins, right? And flavored like this, and so that'd be kind of interesting to use, you know, dumpling skin that has chili powder needed in them, right? So, and then just make gyoza out of them. And so the chili powder noodles, and we wish you guys were able to try it. And but you know what? The good news is that, like, well, you may be able to try them. Like, if you are, for example, if you live in East Coast of the United States, like for example, like New Jersey, like Boston, New York, somewhere, like we have a distributor, like agent, who may be able, like make them available to you. So if you're interested in, like, just feel free to let us know. And we also have office in Holland, like Netherlands, near Amsterdam. So if you want to try them, I'm gonna have like my colleague make them for you. And so if you're nearby Netherlands, feel free to let us know. All right. So yeah, so these are like, yeah, like I smell a lot, like strong smell of like chili from here too. So yeah, this is what we have for this class, and so we want you guys to try, like because this is like really simple, easy to do, to make your own unique noodles, right? And it's like probably simplest and easiest way to stand up for your competitors and make you like your offering like very unique, right? So yeah, please try, like just find like some ingredients that are like locally available, and then you think it would be like great for your noodles, for flavoring ingredients, and try them, and like let us know like how it goes, and then like if you have trouble making like them great, and we maybe like help them make them great. So um, so if you haven't already, like, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like this kind of class, please hit the like button. And for those of you like who are interested, like something particular you're interested in learning from us, please let us know, like by sending us emails. Maybe like you guys can call me, Skype me. I would love to hear from you. So yeah, please. And we want to reflect that in the next class. So thank you so much for watching, and then we'll see you back in the next class. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.